teach you about dollars while making you laugh. When it comes to money, don't be slackers. Listen to Galia and Susan and Galia. Galia and Susan, they're the Fiscal Firecrackers. Yeah. Take it, ladies.
Shazam! Hey,
Woo.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm excited to be here today. Really excited.
Me too. And Galia, I have to tell you, I recently won a class action lawsuit.
What?
Don't want to brag, but yeah, I did. I got an email months ago. I mean, we've all gotten these emails or letters that said, hey, do you want to be part of a class action lawsuit? I've always thrown them out, but I thought this one, I'm going to try it and just sign up, add my email. All right, well, it was against some alcohol delivery business. And I guess a few years ago, I ordered some wine coolers from them. Anyway, my name was on the list. So I signed up and I found out that 3 days ago, I won $11.83 in a class action lawsuit. And here's the thing, they're so savvy at this. They don't send you the money. They send you straight to a site with Target gift cards you can redeem, Bed Bath & Beyond, restaurants, so you can parlay it right into a gift card, right?
They are good.
They
are
good.
Really good.
But here's the bottom line. I didn't have to get a lawyer for this class action lawsuit. I didn't have to shave both legs and go to the courthouse with a briefcase, like Ally McBeal. I didn't have to do that.
Ally McBeal.
I didn't have to. Galia, I sat in my pajamas, signed up, and then I got $11.83, which this is what I'm going to buy. I'm going to use it in Target, and I'm going to get birthday cake, stuffed Oreos, and some socks for my son's summer camp. So
those are good things. While you're telling me this, Susan, I'm thinking that we need to do a podcast on how to find found money.
Yeah.
Because that happened to me too. I have a really good friend whose husband is a lawyer, and he said this to me. He said, you might have some money left over in an old account, in an old online account. And I was kind of like, oh, yeah, right, whatever. He was right. He was absolutely right. And I had to do a little bit of homework on a few websites, but I found, I think, $25 or $30 as well. And it wasn't that hard. So we are going to do a podcast about that.
Are you going to buy Oreos with it?
You know me, I probably just put it in the savings account, or I did something
Yeah, you're
more.
definitely going to save it. You're not buying nipple tape like I would. But I'll tell you what, it's exciting. It was exciting to say that I won that. So it actually paid off to buy wine coolers from a company that got sued.
First of all, are wine coolers even around?
Everything's around.
Okay.
You can, if you hang out with me, you'll find stuff.
And by the way, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm just going to toot it for a quick second, is that every time I lead a class, especially one of these 3 or 6 part classes, somebody always finds money in the class also. Because I'll say to them, do you have an old IRA from your hometown in Wisconsin? Or do you have an old pension from when a job that you forgot about? Invariably, there's always one person in the class who will email me or text me halfway through saying, I can't believe it. I found $4,000 from my hometown bank in Wisconsin. Or,
wow.
Yes, I forgot that I was a teacher in Long Island and I had a pension there. Always, always happens to me. So there is something about found money.
That's exciting. Okay.
Yeah, it is exciting.
On that note, everybody, I'm Susan Yeagley.
And I'm Galia Gishan.
And we are the Fiscal Firecrackers. And this is the show where we have a complete blast while learning to make our money last. We will educate, entertain, and empower you with your money. And I'm so excited about the topic of today's show.
So today we are going to talk about investing with your values. And there's lots and lots of values to define here, but we know we need to invest, especially for our long-term goal of retirement. But more and more investing has gotten to a place where we want to have choices about where our money is being invested and what is important to us, our missions, our values. And that is really, really broadly defined. So we're going to give you lots of different ways to define what your values are. And because it's such a growing movement, they're out there. So it could be as simple as a choice of where you shop versus where you actually invest your money and who you invest your money with. There's so many different ways, and we're going to talk about them today.
I'm always curious about tipping, I have to say, in terms of our values, because this is something 3 or 4 times a day if you're out in the world. The other day, I grabbed my own bag from the back of my trunk. I walked into a juice store here in Los Angeles. I opened up the refrigerator inside the juice store, grabbed 3 juices, put them down on the counter, and the lady rang me up. And then I put the juices into my own bag, and she turned it around. I was sliding my credit card. She turns it around and says, okay, do you want to tip 15%, 20%, 25%, or other? And I'm thinking, I just did all the work myself. I mean, I didn't blend the kale in the juice. I didn't push blend, but I did everything else. Brought my bags in, grabbed it out of the fridge. I bagged it myself. I don't want to sound cheap. And I know everybody has been punched in the face from COVID. And I know service workers, it's really a hard industry. And I get it. And I want to be sympathetic. But if I'm paying $7 per juice, isn't that baked into the mix there for employees? Are they, am I supposed to tip 25%? Or I'm just confused about that.
I'm confused too, and that happens to me also. Literally, I went to this place where I buy a salad. It's already pre-made in a refrigerator. I paid for it, and then they turn the screen around, and they say, do you want a 15, 18%, 10% tip?
And everybody's behind you looking like, what are you going to hit? What are you going to
Right.
I mean, you know,
Right.
And it's,
right.
It's like, ooh, there's something about going to a restaurant, having a delicious dining experience that's 2 hours long. You have an incredible wait staff. Absolutely. I understand giving them as much as we can possibly tip. That's my value system. I really want to tip hard and heavy for people that have helped. But if I'm doing my own juice grab or coffee grab or soda grab, am I supposed to be tipping that much?
So it's a really good question, Susan. And I think we've talked about this in other times. There's no should. And I would start by saying that if you feel that the person working at the counter really needs that extra money and you're fortunate enough to give it to them, then sure, tip them $1.
Right. But do it cash, right?
Right. Or you could do it cash. I mean, if you have cash, I don't think I have $1 bill cash in my wallet anymore.
Oh, I'm old school. Galia, I'm old school Bugsy Siegel. I love like dirt. I like to have cash on hand. There's something about, see, that's what I think I should do is just when they flip it around, just hit no and then hand them some money.
Yeah.
So that way that it's not going to the big company, the corp, it's going to that individual who is a mom or a dad and needs that, right?
Right. And
Okay.
it's not going towards maybe the credit card processing fees as well. So
Yeah.
that's actually a great point. But again, it's if you want to do it. Like you shouldn't do it because you feel obligated or because you're being pressured by the screen in front of you. And then I'm going to take it a step further and let's ask the company how they're paying their employees. Mm-hmm. So for example, there's a large restaurant group in New York City that has actually gotten rid of tipping. And they actually put it into the bill. And they also say that we're going to give this to the people that are cleaning the dishes as well. So if you are going to a place that is maybe a chain, or maybe that you can talk to a manager and say, I would like to know, are you paying above minimum wage? How are you compensating your employees? Do you have benefits for them? You could put it out there and ask them and say, as a customer, as someone who's paying you, I'd like to know, how are you paying your employees? Mm-hmm. So you're not obligated to tip them.
Interesting.
And again, I think that's when I was researching this topic, even though it's something that I'm doing a lot of, and I was definitely spending some time researching, is that one of the things that I like about investing with certain companies is that they actually take some of their profits and use it for shareholder advocacy, which means
wonderful.
They would go to a large corporation and say, how are you paying your employees? Do you have benefits? How many women do you have on your board? How many people of color do you have on your board? So you could just as an individual consumer go to this juice store and say, is there a manager around? And I'd like to know, what benefits are you offering for your employees? Because that's really important to me when I shop here and support you.
That's a fantastic idea. And also, we can do that with restaurants. We can do that anywhere. It's just say, do you give dental to your employees?
Right.
Do they have health insurance?
Right.
Are you helping them help their children go through college?
Right.
I mean, there's some companies that have a side kitty that you can contribute to help employees' children go to school.
Right.
I think that's fantastic.
So the first place that you want to think about values, and by the way, I love that you brought up this tipping, because when you had brought that up when we had talked about it earlier, it really got me thinking about it too, is that maybe tipping is something that I can put my money towards. Maybe I'm thinking, you know what? Let's face it, a lot of the people that are working behind the counters might be students, might be people putting themselves through school, might be just low-income workers, that this is the only job they can get. They probably need my tip.
Yes. Or artists. I love to support the artists.
Right. So
Yeah.
if I'm going to, on a big picture basis, spend an extra $10 a week tipping, let's just come up with that number. That's $40 a month. That's $480 over the year. Can I afford that? If I can't, I don't do it. But if I can afford it, then maybe it's worth it for me to tip an extra $10 a week and know that I'm really helping people to get ahead.
Right. And also tips can be in quotes. I mean, some people, it's money that they want. But I remember my father-in-law grew up where a really good tip was a cigar. And you would give a doorman a cigar. And I remember in 1989 going to a country in Europe, and I was told that the best thing I could give was lipstick from America. So I packed a whole carry-on of, two things, pantyhose and lipstick. And when I would hand a housekeeper lipstick, they were just delight. A waitress lipstick, they were just, oh my God, American lipstick, this is the best.
It's funny, when I traveled 20 years ago, I traveled as a backpacker through Southeast Asia, and someone said, bring balloons for the kids. And I remember that I forgot about this, by the way, just now when you're saying it. I literally bought bags and bags of balloons and gave them out to the kids. Maybe they just really wanted dollars, but they seemed pretty happy to get the balloons.
Yeah. So that's interesting too, is that we can tip our values too,
Yes,
or understand what they need and find that out. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's find them where they need. So that's the first tip, is define your values in investing. So there's a really hot, trendy word right now, ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance. And what I want you to think about is that if you want to do more with your investing and invest with your values, really look at ESG and say, what part of that is important to me? So I would just define it as air and water pollution, green energy, employee gender, diversity, customer satisfaction, companies' harassment policies, human rights. There's so many different definitions there in ESG. And on our website, we're actually going to define them. But if one of those stands out to you as really important, we can find you an investment there. Or maybe you aren't concerned about climate change and you're really focused on how companies are treating their employees, or vice versa. Maybe you're so focused on eating vegan or plant-based products. And so that's an area that you want to focus on. So first, define your values with investing, what's important to you. And by the way, you don't have to. You can also go really broad. You can just say, you know what, I want to do a little bit more with my money and help overall things. So here's a great suggestion, is that there's some mutual funds out there that are very broad and general, but they have a social component. So specifically, Vanguard has an index fund called the Vanguard Social Index.
Interesting.
Yes. And what I love about this is that this is a great first step. So this is an index mutual fund. It's mostly made up of large companies. It's going to do, fairly as well as the S&P 500 index, but it's copying a social index.
Oh.
So it's essentially excluding stocks of companies such as adult entertainment, alcohol, tobacco, weapons.
Hold on.
I know.
Wait.
I was like,
wait. There's something called adult entertainment stock?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Oh boy.
I was waiting for that.
Mama may need to do some investing today. Bring, dear broker. Wait a minute. You can invest in the porn industry?
You can. Yes, you can. I don't know that much about it.
God, I love this country. This is a great country. Please proceed.
I don't know that much about it. But if this is something that maybe you don't want your money to go towards, and I'm not judging, I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. I'm just saying that you can look at a mutual fund that doesn't own any of these stocks. And more importantly, it's going to own stocks that are really promoting their employees and treating their employees fairly. And that's the part that I love. So you might see a social index fund that has an IBM or Apple or Tesla in there, and you're thinking, well, how is that a social company? But maybe that company has done something that's really helping their employees.
Does Vanguard also have an antisocial index for
introverts?
Tobacco users, wine cooler imbibers, porn freaks? Is there that as well? Just asking for a friend.
That's called the S&P 500.
Okay, that's the rest of it.
or the total stock market index mutual fund, which, to be honest, I own both of.
Okay, well, good to know. If you feel really buttoned up, you can go with the Vanguard Social Index, which excludes adult entertainment, alcohol, tobacco, weapons, fossil fuels, gambling, and nuclear power, and violations of labor rights, human rights, and anti-corruption.
Yeah, it does. It's
Okay.
a great place to start
Yeah.
if you want to start investing with your values. It's very broad, though, so this might not be enough for you. And I do hear that, especially when I work with a lot of freelancers that seem to be a little more activist-minded. They're like, well, I looked at this and they have those stocks. And I'm like, you're right, but that's at least a great area to start in.
One thing that I put in the budget recently for our family is a certain amount every year to give to GoFundMe accounts. Because I found in my life and in my husband's life that we were getting emails. There would be people that we knew from 30 years ago that were sick, or somebody that we went to high school with, or somebody's kid was sick, or we would get these GoFundMes. And I said, we have got to help these people. And I really do believe a lot of these are legit. If you know the person, or you know the family or something, where you worked with someone and did a pilot with them 20 years ago, I think it's important to have a little kitty set aside to be able to help friends and colleagues, people like that are going through chemo or going through any kind of treatment or going through a hard time. So that's something that we have done, is to make sure every year we have our GoFundMe kitty set aside.
That's amazing, Susan. I love that about you. Absolutely love that about you. So, of course, I'm going to take it a step further as a financial person. So what you're talking about is really your charitable contribution. And so that is different from investing. And charity is really important to me. And I definitely have set up charitable contributions as well. So I would just say, stop for a second and say, let's define how much we would like to contribute to the GoFundMes, the charities and such on an annual basis. How much can we afford? We're not, every time we're making that decision, being like, is it $50 or $500? Is it $5? Like, I don't know, because we make these decisions sometimes because we don't know. So stop right now. Look at how much money you've got and say, you know what, for the year, we can afford to give X amount. And so when these situations come up, you can kind of keep track and be like, all right, we're on track. So that means if we want to do 20 different, that's $5 each or $10 each. So you're still supporting people that need your help. You're supporting organizations that need your help, but you're just defining how it fits into how much you can afford.
Great. Okay. Love that.
So the next step is that if you want to get more specific, like maybe you're like, I want adult entertainment, but I want to support companies that have climate change. So what I'm seeing now is that there's more mutual funds that are more specific in a very specific area of ESG, environmental social governance. So for example, and again, I don't necessarily recommend these investments, but these are great mutual funds out there. So Fidelity actually has 5 specific mutual funds that are very topic specific. So for example, they have a climate action fund. They have a women's leadership fund.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. So it basically invests in companies that prioritize women's leadership. Who doesn't want to do that? Right?
Just a monster.
What I also read about that really struck a chord with me is that I'm investing in it, obviously for return. These are not charity. I'm hoping to make money. I'm hoping to have what's called an ROI, return on my investment.
What is that again?
ROI. So that's a return on investment.
Oh, another ding, 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 ding. Cocktail party talk. Okay, here I am. I know what an ARM is. I know what a Roth is. I know what a 529 is. Now, what is this again?
ROI.
Not REI, because that's a store where you buy tents.
And good hiking shoes, yes.
ROI, which stands for what?
Return on investment.
Ooh, sexy.
So here's how you can use it in a sentence.
Okay.
So say you're talking to someone and they're talking about an investment or a business opportunity that they've done. It could be real estate. It could be a store they've opened. It could be a company they started.
Maybe they're a VC, which I learned is a venture capitalist.
Yeah. So you can say
Shaka Khan. So I'm talking to a VC.
Yes. Or you're just talking to anybody. Yes, a VC. And you could say, oh, what ROI did you get? Or what ROI do you expect?
Yes. Oh, I'm so psyched about this. I cannot wait to use that in a sentence at a dinner thing. My husband will look at me and his eyes will cross. He will have no clue. Basically, most everyone I know will not know what ROI is. They'll think I said REI.
They're like, Susan, are you going camping? Are you okay?
Yeah, you're not. This is not you. You don't camp. You don't make anything with dried eggs and
Do you glamp? Would you glamp?
No.
No? Okay.
No, because it has the word AMP in it.
Yes.
AMP. Nothing that ends in AMP. Okay,
Lamp?
ROI,
Okay.
got it. Return
Right.
on
So
investment.
again-
So I'd say, hey Ted, what was your ROI on that investment? And then Ted will say,
He'll say 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%. It's just the percentage.
and what's a good return? What is a good number to hear?
Oh my gosh.
Is 5 good?
Yeah. Well, 5 is good, but it's more steady, safe. But to me, a great ROI is anything over 10%, which obviously has risk to it. But if I hear something is returning 10%, I'm like, that's a really great ROI.
Okay.
And the stock market on average over a long period of time is about 7-8% per year. And so anything over that is a better investment, or anything below that is just probably a safer, less risky investment.
And what has been your best ROI, Galia?
So there's a few things. When I started angel investing, I invested right away a few deals, and one returned my money a year later, which is unusual. It usually takes at least 3 to 5 years to get your return on the angel investment. So in 1 year, I think I made, 20-30%.
That's great.
That was a lot. I've lost money too on investments. So my ROI has also been negative, but that was one investment that I did really well in. So we are going to list a few of these mutual funds that we like on our website, fiscalfirecrackers.com. Check them out. But it's a great way to say, you know what, this is something that's very important to me, and let me find an individual investment, a mutual fund that's very topic specific.
That's great.
And here's another way that you can invest with your values. And this is going to be my favorite saying that Susan loves too, which is set it and forget it.
Let's write that and put it on a pillow.
By the way, I had a client of mine who was listening to the podcast, and she said she really appreciated that we said, stop and write this down.
Okay.
Or this is going to be found on the website. So for those of you that are listening, we're giving you a lot of awesome information. Stop and write it down. You can also find these tips on our website. We give them to you. Isn't that great that we put them on our website for you?
For free.
So one of the things that I'm finding more and more of is that I'm a big fan of these robo-advisors.
Okay.
So these are these advisors that help you manage your money, and you don't need a lot. By the way, you can start with zero, and they charge a very, very low fee, 0.25% a year, which is incredibly low. So it's a great way for people to get started on investing that don't have a lot of money saved or don't have any money saved. And what they do is they invest the money for you using AI, artificial intelligence.
Oh my gosh. Well, how do you get them on the phone and talk to them? How do you take them out for a Cobb salad to thank them?
You don't, but you're not paying a lot. So think about usually the person.
I don't know, Galia. I don't want a robot running my money. Really?
But you know what? They're showing that they're doing just as good a job, Susan, as the people that are managing. They
so
are.
We're sending our kids to college to get financial degrees, to a 4-year university, then an MBA in finance. And then we're going to be investing with robots? Oh, God, Lord.
There are really good people that are managing these companies, and I'm seeing them everywhere. Vanguard has them, Fidelity has them, Schwab has them. I mean, they're truly in most financial service firms. But the idea is that it's not rocket science. You just copy certain indices and how they're performing.
Do you have a robot advisor?
I have, yeah. I've invested a little bit of my money in one of these robo-advisors. I have, yeah.
Wow.
And it's just copying what the market's doing. So it's not but what they're doing is because they're charging you so little money. Studies have shown over and over and over that by keeping your fees low, you're going to do just as well as the market's doing, if not better, because you're not spending a lot of money on fees.
Is there someone over the robot who has a beating heart and blood in their body?
Yes,
and a
absolutely.
soul? So you can call the person with the soul and say, hey, the robot's doing okay, or the robot's not doing so well.
Well, you can also keep track of your money. Like you can go online and look at your statements and see how it's performing. So it's not like you just give them the money and you never see it again. But again, the big picture idea is that they're just copying what the market's doing. And so you're not spending a lot. And it's a great way for people who don't have a lot of money or who don't feel comfortable picking their own investments.
Got it.
And what I see is that, let me take a step back, is I see a lot of people not investing their money or not managing their money because they're fearful, they're scared, They don't know what to do. They feel like they don't understand it. So then they do nothing. And so what I'm trying to say is do something. And if this makes you feel comfortable, this is a great first step.
Okay. Okay.
Because I don't want you to just leave your money in the bank and not have it earn anything.
Interesting. Okay. I'll have to have a more open mind in terms of robots.
Well, and I'm a big fan of moderation, Susan. So if you're not comfortable with this robo-advisor, which I actually understand, I totally get it, then don't give them all your money. Just give a portion. Just give them $1,000. Start small and see how that feels for you.
I heard something the other day that moderation is important, and also being moderate about moderation.
So what does that mean? Being moderate about moderation?
Do everything in moderation, including moderation. Get it?
Mm-hmm, I do get it.
So there's times to be outrageous.
Right.
Don't always be moderate.
So back to this set it and forget it with the robo-advisors, I just want to quickly add, all of these robo-advisors have a socially responsible or ESG option now. Like they're jumping on this ESG, SRI, socially responsible investing bandwagon. So literally, Betterment, Wealthfront, there's a new one called Carbon Collective. So if that's important to you, they're offering that also.
And what is ESG?
Environmental, social governance. So it's 3 ways that you can say, I want to invest with my values, either environmental values, social, like gender equality, racial equality, or governance, which is how are companies treating their employees. So those are the 3 key areas.
Okay. So if I were to open up your portfolio, I would see that your values are directly reflected in your investments.
Not 100%, but that's actually one of my goals is within the next few years to have my portfolio be more and more ESG SRI. So I'm slowly but surely transforming it. So I would say right now I have investments from big social index funds. I also have, there's a few companies that have been doing this for a long time. Pax, Calvert, Domini. These are literally mutual fund companies, and that's all they do. And they've been doing it for 20, 30 years. So I own mutual funds from those companies. And then I have a few of the Fidelity funds that I mentioned, which is the women's leadership, the climate change. But I would say it's probably 20% of my portfolio.
One thing that's in alignment with my values, it's not so much investing, but it's how I live my life is I love thrifting. And I saw a bumper sticker the other day. It said, thrifting is my religion. Yes, I love other people's clothes. I love going to these vintage stores. There's this place I went to, Hidden Treasures, this week. And, I've gotten lobster costumes. I got an Easter bonnet from them. I got a Doris Day dress online at Julian's auction house. Doris Day actually wore this dress that I got. And what's so cool is you don't use water. It's all sustainable. It's good for the environment. There's so many reasons why it's good to shop vintage, but also let's add into the mix. It's just freaking cool. Mm-hmm. It is. I love the history and the story. And, I get a hat or a really funky, cool jacket. And I go, oh my God, who wore this? I've got this jumpsuit in the freezer right now. This is the other thing you got to do.
Wait, in the freezer?
Yes. Whenever you get vintage clothing, stop and write this down, okay? Any vintage clothing, put it in a big Ziploc bag and stick it in the freezer for 3 days. And that way, if there's any kind of eggs or bugs or anything like that, sometimes at vintage stores you can have that, they will die and it'll be crisp and lemon fresh. So 3 days in the freezer. So my freezer right now has in it, shrimp and salmon and then 6 ball gowns.
I'm imagining, Susan, that you have like this big walk-in freezer in your house with like meat hanging, and then there's like all these like dresses hanging down.
Yes, and then a ball gown, and then boots from the 60s. And, so put things in the freezer and wait 3 days, and that way you'll never have any kind of weird infestation in your closet. No mothballs or moth eggs or anything like that. So yeah.
Can I just say that I'm blown away by this tip? I am blown away. I have never heard this. It makes so much sense. I love it more than life itself. This tip is rocking my world today.
It's so easy to do.
But you know what?
So easy.
My daughter loves to go thrift shopping, and I literally will buy things with her. It's definitely more her thing than mine It's like camping, right? I like it, but I'm a little not sure if it's always for me. I love the idea of it, and I love that I'm saving money, and I love that I'm buying things that are being reused. But then the practical part is I never find things that fit me great, but that's another story. But I'm not going to lie. I took the shirt that I bought and I just hung it in my closet. Why didn't I put it in the freezer? Next time I'm putting it in the freezer.
Because you didn't know. And it's okay. You can forgive yourself because you didn't know.
I didn't know.
But this is important. So for example, when I was in Tennessee, I found a old vintage concert t-shirt, sweatshirt with Reba McEntire on it. It says Reba. So now this is important because my friend Rachel Harris and I, we tested against each other for the Reba show back in the year 2000. And we both didn't get it. Melissa Peterman did, and she did a wonderful job. But it's something that Rachel and I always have in common, and we talk about. So I got this sweatshirt for Rachel. So what I did is, as soon as I got it, I washed it in the dryer, washer and dryer, and then I froze it. So it's squeaky clean, and then I'll be giving that to her when I see her.
That's a great gift.
Yeah.
Wow.
Vintage stuff is cool to give because it's usually tied to some era or year or person. And it just delights me to find stuff. You can just, if someone has a favorite rock band, you can find a jacket from them from the 70s. I just love it. And it's also my values of
right.
recycling, and it's very green and it's good on the environment.
Right. It's like put your money where your mouth is. Like if you don't support fast fashion, if you want to save, A, it's probably a little bit cheaper than regular stores. And again, B, if this is going to help the environment in terms of water, climate change, what better way to put your money towards something like that?
So that's my value. Suck it, robot. Suck it.
I love it. So let's talk about all the tips that we talked about today.
Open your ears and a money market account. It's time for Galia's Dollars and Cents.
So the first one is define your values in investing. ESG, there's so many different kinds. There's air and water pollution, green energy, customer satisfaction, labor rights, human rights. What is important to you? You can get started with a large mutual fund such as the Vanguard Social Index. And that excludes some things such as adult entertainment, alcohol, tobacco. You can get more specific by finding a mutual fund or an ETF that is in a specific area, such as climate action or the Women's Leadership Fund or water sustainability. You can set it and forget it and use a robo-advisor from any of the large robo-advisor companies or this new one that I just heard about called Carbon Collective. And that's a great way to let somebody else help you manage your money that's aligned with your values. And there's also large mutual fund companies such as Calvert, Pax, Domini. And Domini, by the way, was started by a woman. That's all they do. These are mutual fund companies that only invest with ESG mission in mind.
Brilliant. Perfect.
And then lastly, the first tip we talked about is using your money for your values in terms of tipping or donating. So just really thinking about what is important to me and how much do I want to allocate towards that.
And I think for me, I'm just going to give cash to the people.
Great.
Rather than putting it on when they say, do you want to do 20%, 25, 30 or other? Because I don't know where all that's going, but I do know cash will go right into their pockets of the service provider.
Yeah,
so
I love it. And you know what? You're just being clear about it. You're being conscious about it and you're making a decision about it versus having someone else make the decision for you or feel like you should do something, an obligation. You're saying, no, this is what I'm choosing to do and this is how I'm going to do it.
That's great. I learned that in this half hour. I did. I said, okay, from now on, I'm actually going to I always carry cash with me. Please don't rob me if you see me on the street, but I do carry cash with me. So now I'm going to make sure to give it directly to the wait staff and not put it on the credit card because who knows if they ever get that.
Right. I know.
Want more pecuniary pleasure? Let's read a letter.
All right. We got a letter, y'all.
Ooh-hoo.
Here we go. Dear Fiscal Firecrackers, my parents are aging. Should I be talking to them about their money and where things are in their life? It all seems so awkward. Please help, Cindy in Seattle.
Is this an awkward conversation? Heck yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is 100%, 110%, 5,000%
It's a 14.
awkward.
Oh my God. 14. It's so off the charts.
It's so awkward. And it's literally come up just this week with two of my clients. But does it mean that you shouldn't talk to your parents about their money and where things are? No, it means that you have to talk to them about it. For a few reasons. You just want them to know that you are there to help them. You're not doing it because you want their money or you want to rob them or you want to take their money from them. You're really doing it to help them. And I think that's a really first important point. And second of all, you can also help them get more organized. Like maybe you don't know who their lawyer is, or you don't know who their accountant is, or you don't know where the safe deposit box is, or maybe things are in all different places. So you can say, let me help you start consolidating, or at least let me know where you're putting all the account numbers in the safe and then show me where the key to the safe is. So you can really help them with that process by having someone else get involved with it. And lastly, things do happen. Parents do age. Parents do get sick. I know I dealt with that personally. And very often we start to make these decisions when it's too late, when the parent isn't maybe as available to be part of this conversation. So I think it's really important to talk to them about it so you can respect their wishes while they're still in a place to share their wishes.
Okay, because of my theater background, I have to role play this because let's kick the door open. What would be a good intro sentence to mom and dad about this? What is the first line? Let me just practice, see if you like what I say here. Okay. Hey, Dad, I know we're all getting older. Just wanted to talk to you about your finances and your wishes because I want to make sure that my sister and I do what's absolutely best for you. You know, we could say, I want to be sure to handle things the way you will want them handled.
Right, exactly.
That's it.
And I think less is more. Very often we're just like, and then, like, this is a great opener conversation. Hey, Dad, I just want to make sure that everything is in order, that things are organized. Is there anything I can help you with? I know sometimes it's a pain to do all this paperwork. And I also want to make sure that your wishes are being carried out the way you want them to.
I want to be sure to handle things the way you will want them handled, Dad.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So that clean sentence.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that by the way, there's a great book on our website on how to deal with aging parents and their money. So check out fiscalfirecrackers.com under suggested reading. It's going to be an awkward conversation and they might just shut you down right away and say, no, I'm good. Then guess what? Keep having the conversation. Sometimes we have to hear things 5-10 times and let them know that you are there to help and you just want to carry out their wishes and help them get more organized.
Beautiful.
So if they say no, be like, okay, great. Let's pick it up in a month or let's talk about it later.
See, I talk to my son about it all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm always like, if mommy croaks tonight, on her chicken wing, here's where all the documents are. I say it all the time.
My dog almost died on a chicken wing, but that's another story.
And the other thing too, look, if it's awkward and people are getting a little sweaty, you could always say, just wanted to bring this up, but we can revisit it when you're more comfortable, Dad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll circle back.
Rome wasn't built in a day. You're never going to have the best conversation the first time, but just keep doing it. The first part's the hardest. And I guarantee you, they might say, no, I don't want to talk about it. But then they're going to process it and say, oh, maybe I should talk to Susan about it, or maybe I should. And then they'll come back. And then you can have that second conversation, which is a little bit awkward also. But just keep having it. Awkward conversations need to be had. A great book to read is The Invisible Conversations with Your Aging Parents, which you can also find on our website, fiscalfirecrackers.com. So thank you for that question. Such a great question.
Sure. Wait, thank you, Cindy in Seattle. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Cindy.
Okay, everybody, that wraps up another episode of the Fiscal Firecrackers. Please tell your friends about this show. Download this, subscribe, and go to our website, fiscalfirecrackers.com, and click on the tab to ask us a question. Can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, The Fiscal Firecrackers. While this podcast contains information about finances and investments, financial results discussed herein are not necessarily typical and are not a guarantee of future success. The creators of this podcast make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. The podcast should not be considered professional advice and is not a substitute for a financial planner or investment banker. Please seek professional guidance and do your own research before investing. I'm just letting you know.